UFC 249 went off from Jacksonville, Florida last night, and it was a welcome distraction from everything we have going on in the world, with skillful violence, masterful fisticuffs, and outstanding grappling displays, all taking care of a card that we were anxiously awaiting, and we've got some reactions from that this evening. Today we're going to look at 6 reactions and takeaways from the card. But before we get started, please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button to stay updated in the future. And also go grab yourself a glass of whatever you consider the good stuff, and let's talk about UFC 249 from Jacksonville. All right, first things first. The entire event had that big fight feel. It was everything that we wanted it to be. We needed sports. We needed a live event to sink our teeth into and gather around the TV and watch something that took our mind away from everything that's going on in the world. It really reminded me of the older days of MMA when the UFC only had 4, maybe 5 pay-per-views a year, and you looked forward to those pay-per-views, and each one of them would be stacked with fights, just like this one was. From bottom to top, you had a card that you were excited to see, and that happened because it was just spaced out more. Now, as a fight fan, I love more fights, the better. I love having events every week. That part is awesome, but there does come a point where you get a little bit of fatigue, and some of those cards, let's face it, they're just not quite up to the standard of excitement that you get from a card like this. So this event, UFC 249, it just felt important. It felt big, and that was awesome. I love events like this. It really reminded me of why I became a fan and looking forward to those events when they came about. Okay, our second point. Before we even get into the fights, we do have to make a note. We have to talk about the situation with Jacare. So Ronaldo Jacare Souza, he was scheduled to fight Uriah Hall in a bout at 185 pounds. However, before the event could even get off and they could climb into the cage, Jacare tested positive for COVID-19. The UFC had some extensive testing protocols going on throughout the event, and Jacare was found to have COVID. He was pulled from the event, and unfortunately that meant Uriah didn't have an opponent either, and they couldn't get a last-minute replacement, obviously, because of everything going on with this event, so the fight just had to be scrapped. The UFC did come through and pay both fighters their show money for getting there, so that part's great, but I don't want to get into the politics of the COVID-19 testing. There's been a lot going on in the MMA media talking about whether this event should even have happened. And I, for one, believe this event happening was a great thing, but I don't want to get into the politics of it. Just want to wish Jacare a speedy and full recovery, and the best to him and everyone in his family. Let's get into the fights. My man Bryce Mitchell has earned his camouflage shorts. Bryce Mitchell is a young contender from Arkansas who has been stumping for camo shorts for a very long time. He wants to see the Reebok Fight Kit updated so that he can blend in with bushes once he's ready to fight. I totally get that, being from the South myself. After the grappling display, the clinic, the seminar, whatever you want to call it, that he put on last night against a tough game Charles Rosa, he earned it. He walked right over to Dana. He said, hey, give me my camo shorts. And you know what? They're gonna do it. Dana said, you got it, kid. You get those camo shorts. And we got to say about Bryce Mitchell, the kid's a contender. This guy's going to be around. I'm really excited to see what he can do in the future. Apparently he switched up his strength and conditioning. He was able to push a pace with Charles Rosa on the ground that was, it was blistering. It would be hard for anybody to deal with that on the ground if they're not at a razor sharp level with their jiu-jitsu. His control from the back is very innovative in that he doesn't force in 2 hooks. If he has 1 hook, he doesn't force in that second one. He'll throw the lockdown on the leg, which he already has the hook in, work from that over-under position, what gives him twisters. He can go to the truck position that gives him legs, gives him some stuff he can do with the arms. Of course, you can still choke from there, and it gives him more mobility to get to the mount when people are trying to struggle out of that position. Bryce Mitchell, look for this kid. He is going to be something for a long time to come if he keeps progressing at the level that we've seen him in each subsequent fight. All right, next up, we can only assume that Francis Ngannou must have left his car running during this fight because he needed all of 20 seconds to put away the dangerous Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Now, this fight didn't really answer any questions about Francis that we may have already had. We didn't get to learn anything really about his cardio. We didn't get to learn anything about his wrestling. We didn't get to see any of that. We kind of confirmed what we already know, and that is he has nuclear fission in his hands. And he put it on display with some just brutal caveman style punches that put Jairzinho out real quick. I think this man will hold the belt. I think he will hold it sooner than later, and I think he will hold it for a long time. All right, let's talk about that interim lightweight title fight, and let's take it from a slightly different perspective. You've probably already seen online there was some conjecture about some poor sportsmanship coming mainly from Tony. I don't want to deal with that. It kind of goes without saying, Justin Gaethje is a bad man who put it down in a pretty spectacular way, going that 5 rounds and then putting Tony away, and Tony's no easy out. That guy hasn't lost in a longer amount of time than my oldest daughter has been alive. So that was a spectacular performance by Justin. What I want to focus on is that, unfortunately, with this loss, we as an MMA community have also lost that Tony versus Khabib money fight. Good God, we wanted that fight. I've wanted that fight for a long time. We made a video all about why God hates that fight for some reason, and now with Tony losing, we're just not going to get it. Even if we do somewhere down the line, it's not going to have that same luster. It reminds me of a long time ago, if you've been a fan of the sport for a long time, when the UFC was trying to put together Randy Couture versus Mirko Cro Cop for the heavyweight title. And they finally got Mirko Cro Cop under contract. Everything was going according to plan. Mirko needed that big win, that big signature win in the UFC. He went up against Gabriel Gonzaga, and we all know what happened. It wasn't Mirko's high kick that put the fight away. It was Gonzaga throwing one himself. And that was supposed to be a setup for Mirko to go and fight Randy Couture, and that fight just never happened. Randy instead defended against Gabriel Gonzaga in pretty convincing fashion. So, look guys, unfortunately we're just not going to get that Khabib-Tony fight, and if we do somewhere down the line, it's just not going to have the same glisten and sheen that it would have if we would have watched that fight last night. All right, last up, let's talk about that bantamweight title fight. Now, with this one, a couple of things can be true at once. Number one, Henry Cejudo looked like a world beater, absolute world beater. He was something else, and he is something else. That is a fantastic athlete, and will likely be champion for a long time to come. Wait a second, we'll get to it. Also true, I think that stoppage was a little premature. Both of those things can be true at the same time. Henry was on his way, but still, it's a title fight, man. My opinion is we want decisive finishes to title fights. We don't like questionable stoppages when there's a belt on the line. Nobody does. Dominic, of course, extremely upset, had some choice words for the referee, who he claimed smelled of cigarettes and alcohol. Wasn't there, don't know. But what I can say is I agree, should let that go a little bit longer. It didn't happen. Now, also, Triple C said he's hanging up the gloves, wants to settle down, start a family. I'm gonna go on record right here, right now. There is 0% chance that Henry stays retired. 0, maybe less than 0. 0, zilch, zip, nada. It's not happening. Henry is not gonna stay retired. On record right now. Mark my words. He'll come back. In the meantime, we have some things brewing online with Aljamain Sterling, Peter Yan. They're both trying to kind of put together a little fight. They've been kind of stumping for it on Twitter, and you know what? I'm here for it, man. Why the hell not? Those two boys can get it done. I'd love to see that fight. At the same time, just remember, Henry's coming back. We'll see him again. All right, friends, that is it. Those are my 6 big takeaways and reactions from UFC 249 in Jacksonville. What did I miss? What did you take out that I should have included on this list? Please let me know. Tell me what you thought of the event. I hope you enjoyed the fights. We got more coming up right around the corner. So again, I'm Josh. This is Scraptitude MMA. Thank you very much for watching. If you could do me a favor before you leave and hit that subscribe button so that you stay updated in the future. See you next time.